It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Nation newspaper. The major story here says, Supreme Court grills Atiku's lawyers over Chicago State University documents. Supreme Court grills Atiku's lawyers over Chicago State University documents. And the writer here says, Apex Court dismisses APM's appeal, reserves judgment in Atiku Obi versus Tinubu. We recall that proceedings began yesterday with regards to this matter at the Supreme Court. Then another story here. Ondo Assembly pushes ahead with Ayedatiwa's impeachment. Ondo Assembly pushes ahead with Ayedatiwa's impeachment. And another story here, Forex crisis, federal government to inject $10 billion in weeks. Forex crisis, federal government to inject $10 billion in weeks. And at the top corner, we have victory in $11 billion P&ID UK case, excites President EFCC, court voids multi-billion-dollar arbitration. Coast clear for Ododo as Supreme Court dismisses Adeyemi's appeal. Federal government confirms January start of student loan scheme. Recall that the government had put in place a student loan to help students who are finding it difficult to pay their fees to get these loans to go to school. And the president has said that the scheme should begin in full in January. All right, move now to the Punch newspaper. The major story here, Tinubu's certificate, prove alleged forgery beyond reasonable doubt, Supreme Court tells Atiku. Prove alleged forgery beyond reasonable doubt, Supreme Court tells Atiku. And the writers here say, court reserves judgment on Obi, Labour Party's appeal, dismisses APM's case. Atiku insists on Chicago State University evidence. Ex-VP's disposition invalid, says Tinubu. That's the president reacting. And on your dam, flood tax Ogun communities, government declares emergency. And those are the pictures there. People using canoes to move. Some bus submerged in the flood. And the mode of transportation as it is in these areas is the use of canoes. All right, another story at the downstream. Israel arrests 120 militants, EU back Gaza aid. Slain Nigerian student, NIDCOM probes murder. Nance demands justice. And the federal government, IHS plan 1 billion naira tech talent communities. At the top corner, UK court dismisses $11 billion P&ID suit. Nigeria demands damages. Federal government plans $10 billion to stabilize Naira, eyes NNPCL for Forex. And the Federal Executive Council okays $3.45 billion World Bank loan for power others. And to the leadership newspaper now, the major story here says Supreme Court raises poses over Chicago Varsity documents, reserves judgment in Atiku Obi's appeals, dismisses APM suit, finds smart Adeyemi 2 million naira over Kogi APC governorship ticket. And some other stories here. And federal government, IHS, Nigeria launched 3 million talent learning initiative. CSOs, IPAC seek unbundling of INEC, new electoral act. We spoke about this yesterday. Naira crashes to 1,210 naira to $1. Israel-Hamas war, Gaza gets more aids, death toll hits 6,400. A sad one there. And some other story here. Federal government tackles illiquidity, grants amnesty to FX outside a banking system. That is, the federal government is introducing measures to ensure liquidity in the nation's forex market. As the president has signed 2 executive orders which a lot of persons have described as amnesty, to encourage people with foreign exchange cash outside the banking system to bring them into the official channel. How that will work will be seeing in the coming days. Well, we could order strict enforcement of tax revenue laws. PNID, UK court reverses the $11 billion award against Nigeria. We move now to the Nigerian News Direct. As the major story, CSU certificate, that is Chicago State University certificate, technicality is stalled admission of Atiku's evidence in Supreme Court. INEC, APC, Tinubu plead with court to classify Atiku's evidence as inadmissible. Statute barred. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Obi Atiku's appeal. APM withdraws appeal against Tinubu. Now, a UK court declares PNID contract fraudulent, exempts Nigeria of $11 billion arbitration award. Loma seals Alaba International Trade Fair Market for breaching environmental laws. All right. Borno governor reopens Monday market, waives 2-year rent for 8,000 traders. This is good news to the traders, seeing that the market has been reopened and they wouldn't have to pay for 2 years' rent. Now, Tinubu signs 2 executive orders to boost forex liquidity, Finance Minister is saying. IHS pledges 1 billion naira to fund the federal government's 3 MTT training scheme. To the top corner now, Kanko Airport, Ogun, to commence commercial flights, signed concession agreement in 45 days. Blame LPG operators for increase in price of cooking gas. That's a statement coming from the association there. All right. We move now to the front page of the First News newspaper. And the major story here is still towing the line of Supreme Court's adjournment of PDP Labour Party appeals signed there. And as APM withdraws suit, Apex Court reserves judgment, says there are conflicting letters from Chicago State University on Tinubu's certificate. A spectacular defeat awaits PDP Atiku at Supreme Court. APC is saying this. Now, Northern elders slam Sheikh Gumi over attack on Tinubu Wike. A student loan scheme will take off January 2024, the president has said. Now, how Nigeria secured victory in $11 billion PNID case, federal government is explaining in detail how they were able to secure that victory, especially establishing the fact that it was a case of fraud meant to defraud the country, if I may put it that way. All right, will the digitized forex transaction punish speculators? Finance Minister is saying. I never said 2023 election were compromised. Ex-INEC Chairman Jega is speaking. Supreme Court affirms Ododo as Kogi APC Guba candidate for the off-cycle election coming up next month. And at the top corner, we have Ondo Assembly resumes Ayedatiwa's impeachment, writes Chief Justice. And to the front page of this Nigeria newspaper, and the major story here, Supreme Court, the waiting game. Apex Court reserves judgment in Atiku Obi's appeal against Tinubu, dismisses APM suit, PDP in for another round of fruitless exercise, says APC. And asset for feature, court shifts Diazani's suit against EFCC to December the 7th. Applicants abandoned over 3,000 international passports in Kwara, NIS controller is saying. Lifeline, as UK court dismisses $11 billion PNID suit against Nigeria. Federal government describes verdict as victory over corruption, indictment of predatory international investors. Right, another story at the top corner. IGR, Wike activates IRS Act 2015, puts MDAs, banks, others on alert. All right.
Yeah, we move to business day, of course. The UK court judgment seems to be the order of the day in every newspaper. Business day saying UK court dismisses $11.5 billion P&ID award against Nigeria. Tinubu hails verdict, says victory is for Africa. The next story here says how Nigeria plans to source $10 billion to fix FX crisis. Sales of banned toxic mercury-laden cosmetics shifts online. NES 29, Nigeria speculators in trouble as federal government moves to digitize FX market. That's in Business Day this morning. The blueprint says here, Nigeria missed Russian-Ukraine war gas demand windfall opportunity. That's according to the federal government. $11 billion P&ID judgment, victory for long-exploited Africa, says Tinubu, says our continent on receiving end of economic conspiracies. Ill-fated gas project obtained by fraud, court rules, EFCC hails verdict. That's in blueprint this morning. Supreme Court reserved judgment in Atiku's petition against Tinubu. We go to the Voice of Liberty. It says Tinubu applauds Nigeria's landmark victory as UK court quashes $11 billion P&ID award. Katsina bandits invade community. Kill policeman, lecturer, 7 others. Forex rate. Federal government pledges to honor legitimate obligations. And of course, the story here says Tinubu's certificate. Supreme Court receives conflicting letters from Chicago State University. That's the Voice of Liberty this morning. We move to the Nigerian Tribune. P&ID excitement as Nigeria wins $11 billion UK court case. Corrupt officials, private firms can no longer hold nations hostage. That's according to Tinubu. Judgment removes risk up to Nigeria's assets abroad, says AGF. The next story says, autonomy, parliamentary staff set to shut down national states assemblies. That's in the Nigerian Tribune. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Obi Atiku's petition against Tinubu's election. Dismisses APM's appeal. Defeat awaits you, APC tells Atiku PDP. That's in the Nigerian Tribune this morning. We move to the Daily Trust. Federal government automates forex transactions as Naira slumps to $1,220 Naira to a dollar. Admits liquidity, pledges to clear forex backlog. Come up with critical reforms, NESG urges government. Help manufacturers with subsidies, says Dawn. Gaza war. Obey international law. Western leaders tell Israel. That's in the Daily Trust this morning. Intrigue, suspense as police investigate murder of Maiduguri housewife. FEC okays $3.45 billion loan to finance power other project. Insurance sector grows from 827 billion naira to 2.33 trillion naira in 2022. That's the Daily Trust this morning. And finally, the Daily Independent says here, federal government sets a 10-year target to finance $3 trillion infrastructure stock. Assures of plans to improve foreign exchange liquidity. Says Nigeria expects $10 billion in forex inflows in weeks. Commences students' loan program in January 2024. Supreme Court dismisses Adeyemi's appeal against APC Ododo. Orders appellants to pay respondents 1 million naira each. Deputy Governor impeachment. Ondo Assembly again writes CJ to constitute investigative panel. Army has acquired electronic warfare capabilities, as according to the Chief of Air Staff and Army Staff rather. Parliamentary workers to shut National Assembly, States Assemblies tomorrow. That's in the Daily Independent this morning.
All right. So many stories on the front pages this morning. And the matter of the Supreme Court are dominating. But, of course, they are all interesting stories that you might want to look at. And so you can pick any of the papers this morning to get a full grasp of what the stories